So, artificial intelligence, very big thing, very popular nowadays. Before I start talking about it, I have a quick question. How long, and anybody can answer this, how long would you say it took y'all to write your senior seminar papers? How many? Okay. How does it make you feel to know that somebody could write something of the same quality, maybe even better? I'm not gonna lie, even better than mine, in about 14 seconds. Yeah. So obviously, it's kind of annoying, and all that's due to artificial intelligence. It's certainly a very powerful tool, but I think it's important to know how we should use it, when we should use it, and even what it is. So the first AI was actually created in the year 1950 by Alan Turing. It was used to solve the Enigma code, which was a cipher device that was very important during World War II. Basically, during that time, when he made the first ever computer, or AI, he created the Turing test, which is like a thought kind of experiment where you'd have a judge and then you'd have a person and a machine behind like a different wall. You couldn't tell who it was. The machine would win the test by having the judge not be able to tell if it was the machine talking or a person talking. At the time, obviously, that seemed kind of impossible, but now you can basically do it right now. So, yeah, AI has continued to develop from the 50s up to today, as we can all tell. It's definitely not like the 50s. Um, Mainly, that is due because of our overall general technological leaps since then, obviously. But the biggest thing that makes modern generative AI different from past generative AI is the internet. Um, the internet is a very massive like library of information, which is here, like basically comprised of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of web pages, articles, images, etc. 67.4% of the Earth's population actually contributes to it daily. The internet is comprised of 181 zettabytes of data, or 181 trillion gigabytes, which to scale, and this is just the thing that I could pick that I feel like most of us would be kind of familiar with, it would be able to hold about 5.84 quadrillion copies of the original Super Mario Bros., which is quite a bit. On average, we as Americans spend about 7 hours daily, which totals to about 18 years throughout our lives. Basically, modern day generative AI is trained off of everything in the internet. So it basically scans every single web page, every single article, image of the 1.2 billion websites that are on the internet today. This opens a whole new world of possibilities because previously scientists or the people developing it behind it, they would have to kind of feed it individually with data from papers or moves, chess. That was actually the first AI, one of them at least. It uses these data sets not just to like report data, but it also synthesizes it. So it'll take something from this source, and this source, and you can basically ask it anything, and it will use data from all three or four or actually billions in order to make a new response that possibly nobody's ever even thought about before. Why does AI matter? Well, it's one of the fastest growing markets of all time, worth a total of $390 billion, which is more than the global film, literature, and music markets combined. And it's actually used by the daily over 55% of Americans, and only 44% actually know that they're currently using it. It can be applied to almost anything, and it's seeing a massive boom worldwide. There are basically a near infinite number of impacts that you can use with AI. Like it relates to pretty much almost every part of our lives daily, and it eventually can. So I mainly split it up into three main parts, being nature, the internet, and us as people. So impacts on nature. This one is actually one of the most interesting in my opinion because I don't think a lot of us know this. Um, AI has a lot of negative impacts on the world around us. For example, one image generation, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, whether it be like making images for slideshows or just for fun, actually uses the same amount of energy as a full 100% phone charge. During a study in 2019, researchers found that training an AI can produce around 626,000 pounds of carbon monoxide. And more recently, it's been found that ChatGPT 3s, so that's actually a previous model. I think we're on 4 now. The carbon footprint of that one was 50 pounds per day or 8.4 tons daily. I mean, per year. Basically, this high energy and high toll that's being taken on these servers is actually causes a lot of heat, which increases demand for water. And recently, the people behind ChatGPT, like the biggest one, actually reported that their servers are literally frying because of how hot it is with the water. And AI, as AI continues to develop, we're seeing it kind of happen right now. Like it's becoming a part of our daily lives more and more. You can't really go on Google anymore without seeing it on the first page, right? These demands only become more and more intense. Then we have the internet itself. This is actually really interesting, and this is what started me on this topic. As I mentioned previously, we spend over an estimated 18 years on the internet throughout our lives. And when you think about it, it's not just because we're internet addicts, it's because every part of our lives is basically on the internet. Think about people that make music, right? They have to download samples, all that's done on a computer online. Our school, especially, I don't know if y'all remember, but 2 years ago, our Wi Fi went down and we had nothing to do for that entire week because all of it's online. Um, Basically, to say the least, it's a really important part of our lives daily. There's actually a theory that was passed around a long time ago called the dead internet theory. And according to Wikipedia, it's a conspiracy theory that asserts, due to a coordinated and intentional effort, the internet now consists mainly of bot activity and automatically generated content manipulated by algorithmic curation to control the population and minimize organic human activity. Now, I'm not entirely sure about the malicious intent part of that, but that's actually been proven true, as over 57% of the current internet is actually AI generated. Now, when I said before, that's about 181 zettabytes of data. That's where we spend 18 years of our lives, and right now, over half of it isn't even made by other people. So that is certainly an important thing. And also another thing is that the internet's been around for about 40 years, available publicly for about 30. And since AI has really been prominent, which is the last 5 years, it's taken over half. And that leads us to our next thing, which is its impact on humanity. Now, regardless of your stance on AI, it's subjectively taking over pretty much all aspects of human creativity, online at least. Though there are, I don't know if you've noticed, even throughout the school, you can see that a lot of the posters are actually AI generated. So that's just an example of it in our current in real life lives. Anyways, AI trains itself off of already created content that is made by other people, made by people like us who write, who research, who create, and this is pretty much always done without permission. These 1.2 billion websites that are scanned daily, they don't really give consent to OpenAI and Google and Facebook to train off of it. They just do it without even asking. At the moment, AI has taken over 26% of jobs from illustrators and 36% for translators. That's a big argument online, is on the art community and the writing community and the music production community. A lot of people are very insecure about their jobs right now because you have, on one hand, you can pay a person like hundreds of dollars to create something that would probably take like a week to a month, maybe even a year. On the other hand, you can ask AI for free to do it in about 2 seconds. So if you're a business and you're concerned about getting stuff done, being productive, like not wasting enough money, then AI is the obvious answer here. So it's predicted that by the end of 2025, 90% of all entertainment will be AI generated. Right now, a lot of us, I'm pretty sure almost all of us, aren't planning on going into a field in entertainment. We're not planning to grow up to be artists or music artists, and that's okay. But the thing is, 40% of jobs worldwide are actually exposed, which means that they're able to be completely run by AI. So that extends far beyond art and music and all that. That goes into things that we're doing currently daily. People have jobs for years, and that can all just be taken up maybe in a year from now by AI. There's many other ethical concerns, and I can't even list them all here because there's a lot. But some notable ones that are kind of strange are AI partners and the black box effect. One thing I accidentally skipped is that last year, so 2023, sure all of us were here for that. Um, 89% of students worldwide used AI to cheat on tests, essays, and homework. I'm sure Miss Miles would know a lot about that. Uh, That's kind of bad because that's pretty much 100% of students. Luckily, it's gone down since then because now we have AI detecting things. But as AI continues to grow and become more person-like, that's starting to fail out too. So, what can we do about it? AI obviously it has its ups, it has its downs, but currently there's really no way to remove it from society. It's a really big role right now. Many people base their works off of it. There's been like billions of dollars pumped into it. You can't really just erase one of the biggest technological advancements in the last decade from the world. The Trump administration is looking into regulations, though. To be quite honest, I don't think that's going to really do anything because it's mainly about America being in control over AI. Um, Really, the best thing to do right here now is to be aware. Don't support unethical use of AI and be able to recognize the difference between AI generated content and human intelligence. Um, 1 Peter 1:8 says, "Be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." I don't think that AI is inherently evil, but many can actually use it to deceive and trap others. I've seen many times on Facebook a lot of people who use it can't really tell the difference between what's true and what's AI generated, and that can lead to scams. It can lead to people questioning things that shouldn't even be questions just because of how realistic it all is. So, biggest thing is to be aware and spread awareness. Final thoughts on the matter. From the perspective of an artist, a student, and a Christian, AI can be a very tempting power that can be used to make life a lot easier. Even honestly, while writing, sometimes I'm tempted to maybe skip a portion and ask AI, hey, can you just write this for me? Because I really don't feel like it right now. We're tired, we have a ton of work, but really, we can't just do that. We can't ignore AI forever, so it's best that we learn how to use it. Um, Colossians 3:23 instructs us to whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working out for the Lord and not for human masters. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important verses relating to AI because many people see it as a cheap way out. It's free. Even I don't know if you guys are on Instagram or YouTube, but almost I like every AI commercial basically shows like, hey, you know how hard you work? You can basically skip all that if you just ask AI to do it. Like it promotes cheating, um, like all sorts of things that just make it easier for us, but also completely violate that verse. Um, and one last thing is, in the words of world-renowned artist Hayao Miyazaki, I feel like we are nearing the end of times. We humans are losing faith in ourselves. I strongly feel that this AI is an insult to life itself. We're excited, and my questions.
Thanks, Will. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle that chat.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, not you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm
That
good.
was,
Yes. Do y'all have any questions or comments? Will.
The spiritual side, you brought up some scriptures and some verses. How do you think? I feel like some of what you presented is to be over our partners.
so there's definitely a lot of questions as a spiritual side of AI. First of all, there's a question of like, how is it like, what's its relationness to like, sorry, that's not even a word. How is it related to like sentience and thought? Obviously, I don't think it's sentient, but I do think that in a way it can think. But ignoring all that, in terms of how it's like taking over, how people can say it's like their own god, I think that's definitely a thing. I think that there's people that would actually rather turn to AI than asking the Lord, and I think that's an important thing. Is that we have to have dependence on the true Almighty force instead of one that can just compute whatever. People have been, yeah. There's a whole bunch of like really inappropriate and just terrible things going around with AI. So yeah, no, I think there's definitely a spiritual side to it. I don't know if it's intentionally made by the developers. I really don't think it is, but I think it's more down to the individual using it in a corrupt manner. So that's one of the things that we have to like look out for.
So if I can throw like on that note, like I'm a Bible teacher, right? So it's like there's a lot of stuff that, in terms of spiritual formation, in terms of spiritual discipline, prayer and studying the Bible and reading God's word and listening to preaching, like all those things, they're not very time efficient. There just seems to be a lot of stuff that God wants us to do to grow spiritually just takes time. And so like that's like a big red flag for me is like when the motive it was interesting, like maybe you can talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
If did I hear you right that like most of the advertisement or most of like what these companies are trying to do to get you to use their product, the sales pitch, if you will, is this will take less time, this will be more efficient, this will.
Yeah.
How does that again back to that question? Like, how does that relate to the spiritual aspect of this? Can we speed up sanctification? Like, can we become better people faster? You know,
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, I certainly think that there is a point to that where it's the process of speeding things up. Obviously, you have your smaller AI brands that just use offshoots of OpenAI, like a lot of the like the math, for example, like photo math and all that. That's AI. Where it's like, okay, you don't have to do this work. You don't have to put in the time to learn. You can just use our product. And it's the same thing with a lot of other things. Actually, there's certain AIs that will take YouTube videos, whether that be sermons, whether that be instructions, and they'll just sum it down. Basically, I really haven't seen, now that I think about it, any other advertisement that's not supposed to be let's make life easier. And in terms of sanctification, I think that's certainly a problem. I've seen a lot of reels that are like AI generated, and it's about Christianity. I went over to a friend's house, and their YouTube recommendation was a lot of these AI generated sermons, and you just gotta wonder, is that okay, right? Because you're not a person putting in thoughts to it. You're a robot just reading off things. You're like, how fast can I learn about Christ? Instead of putting in the work, you're taking the important parts and putting it down on a piece of paper. I honestly think that's a big problem, um, whether that be obviously spiritually or even academically. It's just a problem all
Maybe this isn't the venue for it, but I think it is a problem in the church with pastors. I mean, there's already a
around. AI
big problem with
Jesus.
like sermon plagiarism and stuff like that. Yeah, AI generated sermons.
Yeah.
Because again, okay, so sorry, I'm monopolizing this a little bit, but like explain to us a little bit more specifically. Mention that with pictures, and I think it's the same way with all the information that AI is using. There's always a predicate. There's always a something that they're drawing from.
Yes.
So like generative AI isn't actually creating anything new. It's
Taking.
putting together a bunch of stuff from previous stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So whether it's the artist trying to somebody coming up with a picture, all it's doing is drawing from all of these other pictures and then putting something together for you. In the same way, a pastor, like I hope y'all see what's at stake here, someone that's supposed to be rightly dividing God's word and feeding God's flock and et cetera, they're using this large language model to take somebody else's sermon, somebody else's study, somebody else's mashing it together through this black box that we were talking about. We won't get into it. And then getting up on Sunday saying, "Yeah, this is what the Lord's been showing me lately." Dude,
Yeah. And I currently there's
big
so
problem.
many businesses that already do that. I would not be surprised if like probably thousands of pastors do that already. It's a really sad thing, but it's an unfortunate truth. We're at a time where people are taking the fast way out, and that's a big problem because you're not the one writing it. You're not the one putting in your thoughts. Are you even qualified to be a pastor?
This afternoon, I'm going to go ask ChatGPT, give me a way to become patient as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, got anything else, Mrs. Workman?
You. Thank you.
Don't ever be like that. Did you hear the quote that Bill Gates
I don't believe so.
gave using AI?
Mhm.
Bill Gates recently said, AI will replace many doctors and teachers. Longer and they need it.
Yeah,
That is I'm about, I'm not that long from retirement, so I'm not worried. But still, I mean, that's frightening. I'm frightened.
yeah. And right now, it's honestly been a big point of anxiety in my life. It's because like, how do you know what career you're going to is
Yeah.
because right now it seems like the only careers that are safe are ones that can be done by humans, like not thinking but more physical labor. And especially in computer science and cybersecurity, you have to wonder like, hey, these are computers that are doing all this work. They'll probably be better at it than me. So yeah, it's definitely a scary thing, especially with entertainment. There's already been movies made using solely AI. I think that's going to be our first one to go, which is truly saddening because we had a whole topic on art, and that's really like what humanity is like unique. Like that's our way of putting our internal like thoughts, our internal view on the world in the paper, and now that's being taken over. So I don't think it's a question at all at this point. I think it's definitely going to be a thing, and either the government or people are going to have to step in. So we'll see, but certainly disturbing.
So could I, that one is, I'm not gonna have to ask any more questions. But I wonder, but to play artificial intelligence advocate, I wonder if there's, being a teacher, yes, there's a lot of things that I'm concerned my students are relying more on artificial intelligence actual education. Um, but I wonder if there's something to be said for if a teacher, like the quality of the job,
Yeah,
whether it's a teacher, whether it's the doctor, whether it's whatever. Yeah, you could go get a really cheap version of what we're doing here on with artificial intelligence. But that's kind of been the case for a while with Wikipedia and YouTube. Like you could go learn if you wanted to,
yeah,
and mostly the response is, yeah, but because immediately the quality drops. Ideally, teachers doing what they're supposed to do, right?
yeah,
So maybe this is a push for all of us to make sure that we're doing our job on a more quality level. Does that
yeah.
make sense? Like, what would you say about that?
So I would say that's one of my main points. Where I think it's the individual, not the AI itself. I do think that AI in total is designed to have that sort of thing. I think that we as an individual actually have to care enough about who we are, our education, who we support, to actually not fall into that trap. Um, Biggest thing, right, is that like human work will always be 10 times more important, 10 times better. Like, sure, AI can make art faster, but people put work in like it's uniquely theirs. Teaching, people have uniquely their sense of teaching styles. And honestly, I don't think I'd be nearly as good the writer or as good um, at anything I really would be without my teachers who taught me how to do it. If I was learning the basics, it would be yeah. So no, I completely agree with that, and I think it really comes down to we have to be vigilant. We can always take the easy way out, but it's better, regardless, to just actually taking the time. Even on YouTube and Wikipedia, it takes a lot more of our attention span to actually watch a YouTube video or read a Wikipedia article than it would be to get like a 5 sentence summary of something from AI. So I think that's mainly on us.
Classmates, I'll open it up to y'all. Y'all got any questions or comments?
Well, thank you.
Like AI images,
Yeah,
those are getting think of the made stuff.
yeah,
Or against things like
yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? Is right now in its current state, I completely agree with you. I think that the music, videos, all that, I think that right now you can still distinguish. I will say, right, music is a very important, powerful thing. I think it's slightly above, as an artist, right? I would say that I'm probably better at art than I am at music. I'd say it's like slightly above, drawing and all that. But regardless, it's still something. There aren't creatures that make art. You know what I mean? Like it's uniquely human. It's uniquely individual. You don't see Picasso drawing the same things as like I don't know. Yeah, yeah. So I think that right now you can still tell, but honestly, in the future, not really. Can I show an example real quick? Um, there was a AI video around I think 2023. Hold on, find it. It looks ridiculous because it was really bad back then. I don't have YouTube Premium, so I'm gonna have to let that sit. But yes, this so right back then, I think one of the first widespread AI videos is a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it looks terrible. It looks kind of creepy, honestly, right? But the change from that, which was only 2 years ago, to what we have currently, it's like a generational bound. Like it's not like comparing a film from the 1930s to one made like yesterday. Like the leap is insane, and it's only going to grow further and further now. AI right now can generate a song. I can demonstrate, but it's pretty bad. I would rather not listen to it. In about like 14 seconds, and quite frankly, it's almost to the point where you can't really tell if it's human or not. It's really scary. Yeah,
People see an AI
yeah,
something so
yeah,
impossible.
yeah, and I agree with that. But I really do believe it comes down to the fact that there are children being raised in this generation that might not have that urge to see people like that. Like, there's already people that are actually having AI concerts, and it's really, really weird, and I don't like that at all. Um, but I agree. Like all of us right now, I think that we all still know and want to see only human music. But I can't really say that for a lot of people that are very invested in AI. I know for a fact they'd actually prefer the AI better. And for a lot of people currently growing up, I can't really say that maybe they won't want AI over people. I don't think they should be at all because it's not a human doing it. It's lacking the hours, and there's songs that take years to make, and that's a whole part of the process. Sure, there could be AI songs that sound good, but they're not art. They're not music. It's generated. It's stolen from other people. That's another thing. That's like if you won an award for completely taking a different song, cough cough, the anxiety song, um, and just making it your own. So I don't think that should be considered at all, and it kind of makes me upset that it's even a question.
So on that note, like let's get real specific there. Um, Still talking about music because I think that's a really easy case.
Yeah,
Should a song I know there are songs that have won awards that are, for instance, in the hip hop or rap genre, there's a lot of sampling, right?
yeah,
They'll take a song, they'll put it on a beat, and it's a sample. And awards,
hmm,
so they've taken something from somebody else, they've made it a part of their song, and they won awards. So, like, you see where the argument might be a
yes,
problem if, like, with AI, they're also drawing from other people's work and making songs of it. So I think like just to get real precise, then what's the threshold, or for that matter, using any kind of technology to augment? A cinematographer is going to get film, like an
yeah.
actual camera taking a shot. But they're gonna augment it somehow. They're gonna put lighting and all that. So like, what's the threshold from using technology to enhance art? What we're trying to figure out, like we can get the extremes, like a full movie where somebody just puts a prompt in and they get an hour and a half movie, possible,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
what's the difference? Like the extreme, we can all look at and say, no, they shouldn't get an award for that.
yeah.
But what about all these middle cases where, okay, they're not necessarily having the whole thing? What's the difference between using artificial intelligence, whatever technology?
Well, yeah, okay. So basically, you can really say that a pencil is technology, right? Technology and art go hand in hand, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I primarily do digital art, and I think that there's a lot of tools that I won't be able to use on paper that make it debatably easier. I kind of realized that point halfway through when I was talking when I mentioned the anxiety song. Um, Actually, I don't know if a lot of you know, but it sampled a song that was really popular a while back and basically stole the main riff from that song. Um, but as much as I really have strong feelings towards my dislike for that song, it was a person who wrote it. It was a person who took the time to make lyrics, who put their thoughts about their issues and struggles into words. And even though they might not have made the sample, they still made something unique and something personal, something human about it, and they made it theirs. So while yeah, it's technically the same thing where it's like, oh, it's taking things from other like previously created things. It still has a unique human element. It still has work that went into it. Still has mixing. Honestly, some of the best songs have samples, and I don't think it's stealing because they're still making it yours. So
And I wonder too, like if there's not something about when a song's sampled, you at least get a callback to the original
yeah,
artist, right?
yeah,
There's almost like an honorific thing about it where it's like, wow, they honored it by sampling it. Whereas with all the AI, it's the black box. Like you don't know where this is coming from.
yeah,
So yeah, Grayson.
yeah, yeah. I think that was kind of like my main point there is like while we have that, where it's technically better than what some of us, or maybe even most of us, can make, just because of how talented it is and how fast it is. Well, even that, it's not really talented. You know what I mean? I think that half of art is the work and the personal experience that goes into it. I started in art, really got serious back in it, like about 2019, and put hours and hours and hours in getting better and getting better. I'm still not perfect, probably inferior to AI by a lot, but I would say that my personal thing holds more value because it was made by me. It has my personal views into it. It has my beliefs. It has stuff that's actually came from not even art, like that's impacted it. So I would say, yeah, it completely loses that, and I'd say that's one of the main points of art is that you can have something that's doesn't even look good and it's still beautiful because people care about it. So
So how do you think AI will like impact the way people like work with one another? For us, you know, you see like jokes about how people will treat AI horribly and like say
yeah,
horrible stuff to it.
yeah,
But for people like younger generations who are growing up and like they use chatbots or they talk to AI and that's the way they talk to it and like that's how they will grow up. How do you think that will
I think that's really a big problem, quite frankly, because there are a rise of these AI chatbots that act just like a certain character or a certain like person. That if I had the chance to talk to Luke Skywalker, I'd obviously choose him over somebody normal, I guess. And if I grew up with that ability, I feel like I'd spend all my time talking to that instead of actually talking to people, and then you get these unrealistic, almost perfect conversations that you're not going to get with people because of how AI is so idealized, and so I think it's going to set probably really unrealistic standards for human interaction. Um, but we'll just see how it goes because it's really hard to predict stuff like this. I don't think it ever can, because it's only being told. It can't feel. It's not like you're gonna make pain receptors, and even if you could, you're still telling it this is what it feels like. Whereas for us, right, if I slam my head again, like I feel something. You know what I mean? That's uniquely human. I don't think that AI can ever feel emotions. But I do believe that in a way, right, it can think. When you think about our thought process, it's developed by what we take in from the world around us, and it's kind of the same thing with AI. There are still people that set out guidelines for what it does, but there is that question: will it ever be capable of independent thought? And that's actually what the black box effect actually is currently right now the people behind AI, whether that be Google, Facebook, anything, they don't know how AI responds the way it does. That's because it actually builds off of itself. So in a way, I do think that it is capable of thought. If it isn't right now, then it definitely will be in the future. But I don't think it will ever have full sentience because it will never be able to feel emotions or have, you know, friends, I guess. Yeah.
All this is very are human
Yes,
from
ma'am.
this.
Okay, so on your topic about it being like us being made in the image of God, that was actually something I brought up in my paper is that AI is developed on the image of man. So in a way, it's taking everything human and taking, you know, the flawed part and just turning it into a perfected flawed part of humanity, if that makes sense. So I do think that's certainly something that's a really interesting thing to think about. As far as learning how to support things, I think it kind of ties in with social media. A lot of us, especially me, I have a really hard time with the thought of not being on social media. But quite frankly, it's the case that currently it's kind of hand in hand with AI. Everything you post, everything you do actually kind of feeds to it. Especially with Facebook. Basically, if you use Instagram, pretty much all of your activity is being used to train AI. And with the whole 57% of the internet being made of AI, it's very likely that like one in probably like, you know, at least 1 in 10 posts you see, it might be AI generated. If not now, definitely in a year or two. Even it's actually kind of funny. A lot of popular memes now are actually completely AI generated. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about, but yeah, so that's even influencing us right now. So I think the biggest thing would be kind of limit within ourselves what we see, what we support. Because if you're sending the message, oh, we think this is cool, oh, we think this is funny, it's only going to push people to develop even more and more. There.
I just had a question like that, mostly because a lot of jobs like
Yeah.
we have like the college and it's like oh we did all this.
So the thing is, I definitely do believe that's a possibility. I believe that if, like, you know, people really tried, humanity can be kind of useless in, you know, up to 5 years. Um, Again, the statistics about like 90% of all entertainment in 2025 this year being AI generated, and it's only going to tip into other things. Now, what do we do about it? I think we just continue on normal. We've had, you know, similar things in the past. Like people thought computers by themselves were gonna, you know, completely revolutionize everything. I think it's best to just, you know, keep on, you know, studying, going to college, getting, you know, living out like how you want to live, and just seeing how it goes from there. Again, regardless, human work will always be at its core fundamentally better than AI because it's uniquely you. Um, so it just kind of seeing how it goes as it goes. You know what I mean? But definitely great question.
Thanks, Will. Good job.